G'day guys, Mr. Oz Adventure here, and I'm coming at you today from my lounge room on the Gold Coast in 2022. I'm here at the moment to take you on a little journey back in time through the powers of the internet to 2019, where I was road tripping on my motorbike in Victoria. On this journey we're going to go to places in Melbourne that I've never been before, and I'm going to show you the roads that I first rode a motorcycle on. Stick with us, we got a good one for you. So if you haven't already checked out the other videos in this series, check out the description below and you will see the 3 days it took me to get down from the Gold Coast to Melbourne. I had a few adventures on the way, some incidents, and there was some amazing scenery along the way. Great times indeed. Anyway, while I was down in Melbourne staying with family, I went and caught up with some YouTube friends. See It with Simon and Cruising 650. They were on the other side of the bay to me, a side of Melbourne that I haven't been to before. In all the years I'd spent growing up just outside of Melbourne, I hadn't been to this part of the city before. So I took a trip up the freeway, through the city, over the Westgate Bridge, down to Altona Beach, and then Williamstown. Firstly, I went to Altona Beach and met up with Cruising 650, had a great catch up with him, and he took me to a few cool little spots on the bay there. It was a magnificent day, beautiful day, just looking over the water and seeing a part of the bay that I'd just never seen before, getting a different perspective on Port Phillip Bay and the city. But before long he had to go off to work, and then luckily enough See It with Simon was free to catch up with me after he'd finished work. So he come and met up with me back at Altona Beach again. Then we headed back around the coast, taking in the sights of Port Phillip Bay, around to Williamstown. That was an awesome little ride through there. I just didn't even know these little places existed. After that, we went back across the Westgate Bridge again and into Port Melbourne, where we might have done a few little dodgy, illegal footpath riding things. I'll let you be the judge of that. How cool was this little spot? What a great little view across the city that was. Great spot to park up, get a photo. And then we did some more dodgy stuff, heading through some beachside suburbs and along Beach Road. Absolutely stunning Beach Road as the sun was setting. Check out that rotunda over there. Did you see that? That will come into play in a future video where I was there again the next year waiting for the ferry to Tasmania. It was such a magic ride. Beautiful warm evening, just watching the sun setting over Port Phillip Bay, riding motorcycles through the traffic, having a laugh. Such an awesome night. After that, which is not captured on camera, we went out to visit the famous adventurer Nerb1. If you don't know Nerb's channel, go and check him out. There's a link to his channel down below in the description. And yeah, we caught up with him that night. The very next day I went cruising around the Mornington Peninsula, because that's where my mum lives, that's where I grew up, and that is where I first learned to ride a motorcycle. So first stop on my journey was Point Leo. Point Leo is where I first learned to surf when I was a teenager. And man, some days it was absolutely freezing down there. I remember one time I went surfing with a mate and I forgot to pack my wetsuit, so I was out there in that water close to winter with no wetsuit. Needless to say, I didn't last too long in the water. So yeah, it was good being back in Point Leo here again. A few memories That shop there is where I bought my first surfboard from, or the one and only surfboard I ever owned. Heading further south along Frankston Flinders Road, we come to Shoreham Beach. Is another place where I had some great memories. I used to go jet skiing here a lot, and I actually did a video about an incident that happened here at Shoreham Beach where I nearly drowned. My jet ski sunk and ended up just off Phillip Island, right across the other side of the bay over there. I left Shoreham Beach with an empty trailer. I used to go belting along this car park here in my HQ Holden panel van with either the jet ski in the back or on the trailer, and then just go flying across the sand. You just cut down through the little gap, and in a two-wheel drive vehicle, it was momentum that was going to carry across that soft sand, so it was always a bit sketchy. But we'd launch the jet skis there, and then we'd go out and jump the waves and ride them back in across the reef, which was somewhat dodgy as the tide was coming out. Another great spot that I hadn't been for many years, and awesome to relive some memories. After a bit of reminiscing there, it was back south along Frankston Flinders Road again, with great views across Western Port Bay over to Phillip Island, the little town of Flinders. That pub over there on the left used to have a lot of big nights there back in the day. Used to go and see a lot of live bands there, and it was a bit of a wild venue. So after the jet ski incident at Shoreham, it was at Flinders Pier here where I came to collect my jet ski. There was a fisherman that knew the waters, knew the tides and everything, and he had rough guesses as to where my jet ski would have floated to with the tides, half submerged, and he was able to find it and bring it back to me. So there's a bit of a naval base in Western Port Bay at Crib Point, and at the heads there at Flinders there's a cannon or something. There's something right on the point there, a bit of a battlement or something, you know, just guarding the entrance to the bay. It's a beautiful little spot down there at Flinders. I used to go and play golf down there with my dad back in the day, and some of my uncles. Absolutely beautiful golf course right on the ocean's edge. I can't remember the last time I was at this golf course, possibly the early 90s when I first got my license, but could have also been the late 80s when I was playing golf with my dad. Absolutely beautiful coastline along there. A great little spot, very scenic golf course, and a great spot to ride a motorbike around, of course, and get a few photos. Leaving Flinders, I came across heaps of other bikes on the road. This is a popular motorcycle road, and it was this road between Rosebud and Flinders that I first rode a motorcycle on. This little bit of bitumen through here, winding its way through the hills and farms. A few little tight spots, but mostly open and a little bit fast flowing. I'd just come back from getting my learners, and a mate of mine that I was living with, he had a CBR 600 RR, which was by no means a learner bike, but he had it sitting there as a spare bike, and he's like, righto, come on, let's ride to Flinders. You know how to ride now. I was like, but that's not exactly legal. Should we ride, he says. And I went, yeah, should we ride? So we rode over to Flinders and back. Absolutely shitting myself the whole way because it was highly illegal. I probably could have lost my license or copped a big fine if I'd been caught, but it was a good experience. It was a good riding experience, and the first time I ever rode a motorbike on the road. And this is a road that I used to ride all the time for the next couple of years after that. While I still lived down there in Victoria, I would ride to work on the freeway and then ride home the long way. It would take me half an hour to work on the freeway, and then maybe a couple of hours coming home the long way through Flinders here. So there were a lot of bikes on the road this particular weekend because the Ulysses AGM, the Ulysses Motorcycle Club AGM, their general meeting, their annual gathering was on the Mornington Peninsula that weekend. So there's heaps of bikes that come from all over Australia, and they were camped up at the Mornington racecourse, which I would ride past at the end of my loop. So right now I'm just taking you into the industrial estate in Rosebud where I used to work. This is where I first fixed my motorbike that I bought. I bought my motorbike at the towing place just here. It was a repair write-off. Some young guy ran up the back of the car with it, and right in that tow yard there is where I picked it up from. Took it back to work and fixed it, repainted it. The very start of my riding was a Honda CBR 250RR. And I used to ride all around these roads along the bay. Absolutely glorious on a beautiful summer's day. It just looks tropical. The waters are so clear and blue. And overlooking those waters is the glorious Arthur's Seat. A winding road up the front of Arthur's Seat from the bay up to the top. It's just twisting corner after twisting corner, hairpin after hairpin, with the cable car going over the top. It used to be just an open chairlift back in the day when I lived there, but I think that had an incident with that, and they closed it for many years and then reopened it with this brand new cable car thing. Pretty cool. I haven't been up in the new one yet, but this is a great road for bikes. Sport bike riders absolutely love it and just time themselves racing up and down. Also a spot where the cops love to come and catch riders speeding, but there were none today. On this day that I was there, traffic wasn't too bad for a gloriously sunny day. And at the top there was a few guys from the Ulysses meetup that had been travelling around together, and they went up there for lunch, pulled up there, and there were bikes everywhere. Absolutely beautiful views from the top looking down over the bay. After a brief little stop up the top there, checked out the chairlift and checked out the bikes and checked out the view. It was time to head back down, get another photo at this car park here. Used to like coming up there and getting photos of my cars back in the day, and just sit up there sometimes and just contemplate life. Such a stunning spot. So down below there along the beach is where I used to live. Heading back down the hill now. Got great views over the bay all the way down. After Arthur's Seat I went through Dramana and then followed the Esplanade Road up to Mornington, hugging the cliffs along the way, all the way from Safety Beach in Dramana all the way up to Mornington, through Mount Martha Beach. Absolutely glorious ride. I've forgotten really how stunning some of this stuff is, you know. After moving away from the area, coming up to the Gold Coast, it was great to go back and see some of these places that I used to take for granted when I lived there, you know. You just don't think too much about them being beautiful and everything when you're there, but going back on a beautiful sunny day, you can just appreciate how much beauty there is there. It is any wonder that this is one of the tourist hotspots for Melbourne. Loads of people that live in the city of Melbourne will come down to the Mornington Peninsula for weekend, day trips, and just for their holiday destination. So just passing the Mornington Racecourse now, where everyone was camped for the Ulysses AGM, and then it was back along Mornington Tyre Road to my mum's house. That was an awesome little loop, just riding around the peninsula, just reminiscing, taking in all the sights. Soon enough I was back in the little town that I grew up in, Tired. There's not much there, but my mum's house is still there, the house that I grew up in, and it was great to be back there. After a few days with the family on the Mornington Peninsula, it was time to head east across Gippsland, catching up with another mate along the way in Currumborough before heading off to Bright for the V-Strom meetup. That was an amazing ride. It was hot as hell through Gippsland and cold as hell up in the mountains. Popped out on the other side to Bright in Victoria for the V-Strom meetup. So stay tuned for the next videos. There's going to be a lot of awesome stuff coming up.